Hey Scrappers, in this video, this is going to be the first of hopefully a small series of Q&A videos. It's the most frequently asked questions that I get. I like to do one of these once a month. I've been getting a lot of comments and questions from all of you great viewers out there, and I seem to notice there's some questions that seem to be asked quite often. So I thought this would be a great way to get those answers out to you, because I'm getting hundreds of comments every day. So let's start off with, this video is going to be questions on gold recovery. Alright, so I've got a clipboard here with frequently asked questions from some viewers. So let's, first question that I get the most common of is, what chemicals do I use? Well, keep in mind that I'm an amateur gold recovery refiner. I'm not a professional. There's a lot of processes I don't use, but for what I do use, I have a very short list. It's muriatic acid or hydrochloric acid, 31.45%, hydrogen peroxide, 3%, household bleach, sodium metabisulfite, bonite or bonite stump out, water, preferably filtered or distilled. Second question I get very often is, where do I get the chemicals? Well, the chemicals that I just mentioned to you are available at just about any hardware store. In the United States anyway. If you live in other countries, you may have to dig a little bit harder. I can't help you steer you in the right direction if you live in another country. Some places have stricter guidelines on what's available to the public. But in most cases you can order them online. Next question I get is, my results are not like yours, how come? Well, that is almost impossible for me to answer. If you do things exactly as shown in the video, your results should be the same. Keep in mind that one of the most important things is to keep your material clean. Like when you're processing RAM chips, a lot of people, from what I've found, skip the step of trimming the gold off. So instead of being left with, just the finger, the gold part, and there's really nothing else on there. There's no monolithic ceramic capacitors. There's no IC chips. There's no solder. There's really nothing left on this part, which is what you should be processing, than this. Yeah. So to help you figure out, why your results didn't come out, I mean, there's so many variables. Depending on, did you actually use the right amounts of chemicals? Some people like to add more peroxide because they think it makes it faster. When it doesn't, it actually can dissolve some of the gold into the solution. So you want to stay away from that. Next question I get, I did what you did in your video with a few plates. I had to get the gold off, but when I went to precipitate, there was nothing there. Best way to answer that is probably because you only did a few plates. Gold is one of the very few metals that can be layered so thin that it's almost transparent, and it takes a lot of plates and cups to make a gram of gold. So keep in mind that in the gold recovery business, it takes a lot of material to make a little bit of gold. Okay, so it's one of those, like with me, I only process gold twice a year. Usually in the spring and in the fall. I save up everything that I have all winter, and then process in the spring, and then all summer I save up again, and then process in the fall. So you really got to keep in mind that, yeah, something may look like it's got a lot of gold on it, but in actuality, it's really not that much gold. It's still worth doing. You just need to keep saving it up. Alright, so the next question is, why don't you do a video that is a breakdown of where the gold is and how to recover it from a computer from start to finish? Well, because that video would be several hours long. The computer has many different types of gold bearing material. There's different methods of recovering different types. You can get gold out of, you can't get gold out of flat packs the same way you would out of ceramic CPUs or from gold fingers or even from IDE pins. I mean, there's different processes for each one, and each one takes a while to do. Next question is, how do you dispose of the chemicals when done? To start, you need to contact your local government first. to see how they dispose of hazardous waste. They may have a facility, they may charge for it, etc. Second, for the most part, you can just evaporate most of the liquids away, so that you're left with just, I think they're just like metal salts. And keep that in an airtight plastic container. Try not to mix too many different things together. And then again, contact your local government to see how they dispose of those materials. Alright, next question. Where can I sell this stuff after collecting it? Well, check your scrapyard. That's the first place you should check. Most likely they're going to be offering you the lowest price for gold-bearing material. You can try your luck on eBay or use companies like boardsort.com for gold-bearing material. Also for ink and toner, since many staple stores have changed their policies, now you have to buy like $50 worth of ink every 3 or 6 months in order to use that cashback rewards thing, which isn't cashback, it's a store check that you have to use at Staples. You can use companies like the E-Cycle Group. They pay cash for lots of different types of ink and toner cartridges. Lastly, for cell phones, a lot of people ask, should they bother recovering gold from cell phones? That's one of those things where I would say it's usually not worth it. I mean, yeah, there's gold in there, but there's usually not more than a couple bucks worth. And you can almost always get way more money for that phone selling it as is on eBay. Check out their values on eBay or Top Dollar Mobile first, or even I think there's Usell and Gazelle. I haven't tried those two yet, but I have tried Top Dollar Mobile and eBay, of course, and I do really well there. So keep in mind, in a cell phone, there's really only a couple bucks worth of gold. Not worth the time to really take it all apart when you can make more money selling it as is, broken or working. So a question that I got today, before I wrote up the script, was about the acid peroxide method. Can I use it for circuit boards? The answer is yes. You can use it for circuit boards, but you want to make sure that it's clean of other things first. You want to make sure there's no more components on it. You want to make sure there's no solder on it, because that can mess. It'll change the chemical composition of the solution, which you want to avoid. Also, with your AP solution, when it's spent, there's a YouTube channel that's now called Geo. It used to be called 10464 Jeff, where he used to use the spent solution to clean circuit boards. He would take things like these RAM chips, and he would just throw the whole thing in there just like that. After he trimmed the fingers off, and the AP solution would eat whatever is holding the chips to the board, so that he could process those ICs much easier. But again, it's a process. It takes several steps in it. So check that channel out and check that process out before you try to do that on your own. Alright, so basically to summarize for this video, please keep in mind a few things. First off, I'm not a professional. I'm a hobbyist who's making these videos as sort of a journal of my experimentation and sharing what I find that works for me. The best sources of information will be, Hoke's book on gold recovery. That's H-O-K-E-S, or H-O-K-E, sorry. Second, gold recovery and refining are a hobby for me. It's not a get-rich-quick deal. I get a lot of comments about it's not worth the time. Well, when I make the video, it's usually on a small scale to help you folks see the process easier. When I do process like gold fingers, I don't do quarter of a pound at a time like you saw in the video. I usually do like 10 pounds at a time. And in that case, it's just not much more chemical, so it's really worth it to do it that way. As I mentioned, I only do this twice a year, pretty much, in the spring and the fall. So I save up all winter for what I process in the spring, and I save up all summer for the gold I'm going to process in the fall. It gives me plenty of time to save up, so that it is worth it when I process it. Another thing to keep in mind is that it does take a lot of material to make a reasonable amount of gold. Sometimes you get lucky. There are some things that don't require as much, but for the most part, it does. And some people send a message saying they have a pile of stuff they want to process, like 5 motherboards, and that's practically nothing. It's worth saving, but it's really not enough to process on its own. I also get a lot of questions about other methods like reverse electroplating and using aqua regia. Um, I have not used nitric acid yet, or sulfuric acid. Basically, the processes that I know enough about to have tested and have good results, I make a video on them, pretty much right away. So check out my channel. If you see the video there, then that means I know something about it. Otherwise, I don't know enough about it to feel comfortable to give anyone advice about it. Also, check out the gold refining forum. It's a great source of information. Try not to ask too many questions before you start researching. They get to be a little bit upset about people who just flood in there and just start asking without doing any research. And also check out, there's some great YouTubers out there that have some really good channels like Geo, Indeed It Does, Original Feats, Drew Metalsmith. They're my go-to people on YouTube. So I hope you found this Q&A session helpful. It's helpful. If it was helpful, return the favor by commenting, subscribing. It's free. Like +1 or whatever that Google Plus thing is. And see you on the next one. Make sure you check out my channel. I've started another channel called DIY Daddy. Make sure you check that out and subscribe. And see you on the next one. Go make some money.